And welcome back, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Happy Veterans Day. Very first thing I want to do is say thank you to all of you veterans out there. Thank you for keeping me, my family, my country safe. So, some of you guys have gone through a lot to do that. And you come back and you've got, lingering issues. And I can't express my gratitude enough. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm glad the government saw fit to have one day to celebrate you guys. So I tried to do the red, white, and blue color scheme thing. I don't know how well it worked, but and the moon, my little moon seems to have a mind of its own. But yeah, this is in honor of all you veterans. So thank you very much for your service. Scott made it in first. Hi, gang. How you doing, bud? And he's saying thank you, veterans, also. Um, Yeah, that's just I think of any one group of people, they're the ones I appreciate the most. So mothers fallen's right behind them, but yeah, veterans hold a special place in my heart. Most of the male members of my family served. So yeah, thank you so much. Um, so tonight I've kind of gotten on the band. I'm kind of late to the party, let's put it that way. But I have discovered Nalgene water bottles. All right. Now, every backpack review done, they always compare, will a Nalgene fit? Because that's kind of like the gold standard. If a Nalgene will fit, you're apparently good to go. My son has had one for a long time. I never really cared for them because they've got such a wide opening, which is great for putting ice in. But when you try to take a drink, if you're doing anything like driving in the car or trying to walk and take a drink, you're going to take a bath because that opening is just it's too big. Well, I've been made a convert by one simple little piece of rubber, and I'm going to show you guys what it is, and it's fantastic. So now I'm an Nalgene lover myself. So I found this little koozie for it because that was another one of my gripes was, I've always carried stainless steel bottles and they keep stuff cold for like overnight, right? There's no way a plastic bottle is going to keep stuff cold that long. Well, as was pointed out to me by someone who's extremely wise, you're supposed to drink it, not save it. And if you take a bottle this size, it's 32 ounces, you're supposed to drink that within a couple hours. So, good point. Yeah, that's. So anyway, I found this koozie, which does help. It helps keep it a little bit cooler, and it helps it from sweating. So when you stick it in your bag, typically they sweat a little bit, especially if it's hot out and it's got cold liquid in it. So this keeps the moisture out of the bottle holder. Now it does make it bigger. I mean, look how big this is. This is a big, yeah. But I have been converted to the Nalgene way of life. So ugh, even without the koozie, this is a big bottle. But that's what I'm supposed to be drinking if I'm hiking, like in 2 hours. So, okay. So what I found, and you guys are going to love this, it's an insert. Is that not too cool? So when you want to fill it, you take the insert out. You can fill it up, but that's what you would normally be drinking from. And as you can see, that you would take a bath, right? Well, with the insert, after you fill it, you put the insert back in, and now you're limited to this little bitty, I think they call it a sip hole. And you got some air holes up here, but a little bitty sip hole. So, if it does splash, it's not going to splash all over you. And this thing just fits right back in there and you're good to go. So I've been converted, uh, now that, because I don't like they make a Nalgene with a small fill hole, but I like ice in my water if I'm out and about. So yeah, so this just that was a game changer. That totally changed my opinion. And I mean, they're nice bottles and they seem to be fairly rugged. I mean, I can't squish it, right? It seems to be fairly rugged. Now, a lot of my backpacks, because they're on the smaller side, have problems taking a 32-ounce bottle, which was never a problem for me before because I had the stainless steel bottle. So this is a little bit big, but as again was pointed out to me, my hiking backpack has no problem taking this. So every argument I had just kind of flew out the window. And but these are not expensive on Amazon. Um, it's just a little koozie specifically made for the Nalgene bottle, and these are cheap. I think this one was $13. Um, and I think it was because of the colorway, which these are my colors, so you know, get a life. Uh, some of the other colors were more expensive, but this would have been the color I picked regardless of the price, and I think it was on sale. So that is my kind of my find of the week. I do have something else to show you guys. I don't know how well this is going to go over on YouTube, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. Um, so a real good friend of mine orders off Temu every 2 or 3 days. She's got an order coming in, and sometimes if you don't want to pay shipping, it has to come from China and it takes forever to get here and yada yada yada. But there's a lot of Temu now that is shipped from the States, and you're supposed to get it faster, but it costs you $3 per item. So there's that. I did go through. I love these one T-shirts, and I went through and I ordered $30 of their T-shirts so I wouldn't have to pay shipping, and 5 out of 5 were wrong. So go figure, right? But I did order something, and the first thing I'm going to show you, I didn't check the dimensions. I'm really, really bad about that. It has happened more than I care to admit, where I will buy something and I don't check the dimensions. So I ordered a couple of knives because I like knives. I like guns. I'm kind of weird. Uh, and this is the box it came in, which, as you can see, it almost looks like a pen and pencil set. And I thought, well, maybe she's got a lot of padding, right? Can't be that big. Oh, yes, it can. This is what came in the mail. Hmm. A little bit too big for my hand. And you're supposed to be able to flick these. I have never been able to flick a knife in my life. Okay. But you're supposed to be able to. Oh, it's got a little thing here where you can pull that and apparently you can flick it. Doesn't really work that well every time. But look how big this thing sits in my hand. It's just, that's ridiculous. Unless I think I'm Rambed or something. I mean that it's too big. But to release the blade, you pull down on this thing, and I'm gonna cut my finger off. I already stabbed it in my leg once, but you pull down on this little thing right here, and it's supposed to fall down. Now, if you have your hand down there, you're in trouble. So always read the dimensions. I liked the fact that it had this little clippy on it, so I could like put it on my truck. There's like plates on either side of the console of my truck, and I could just slip it on. But I thought it would be maybe half that size. So there is that. By the way, it's a SOG, and it apparently appears to be an authentic SOG. However, I didn't pay near what they charge for them here. So if you're looking for a good, inexpensive knife, you might try Temu. The second one I got, I was much happier with. It came in a normal size knife box, and it's a very pretty. I got this one because it was pretty. I am still a girl after all. So this one came in at the original box. It says book, book, book. And this one has got this gorgeous wood on it. That's kind of why I got it, because it was pretty. Um, it's got this little place where you're supposed to put your thumb to open the blade. I can't do that, folks. So I just open the blade like a normal person. Okay, there's no flicking going on around here. Um, and way back, knives used to have a little button on the back, little thumb thing, and you just pushed them, and now they all have this little serrated thing that you're supposed to be able to feel and push one way or the other. Yeah, I'm not good at dealing with those either. So this will never be about a knife channel, okay? Because I like them, but I'm not good with them. And 9 times out of 10, I end up cutting myself. But a friend I play cards with, he likes old timers. And I told him, I said, well, I like buck. I'm going to see if I can find a new buck knife. And I found this one. And it was less than $10. This big honking thing was only 11. So go figure. You can find some good buys on there. But it says buck and everything. I don't know if you can feel it won't pick that up, will it? Maybe. Anyway, um, good deal on Temu for a couple of uh, what appear to be authentic knives. Now, they may not be, and you guys may know a whole lot more about this than I do, but uh, these seem to be a pretty good deal. So that's kind of my showcase for the night. Randy made it in. Hello, everyone. Don't forget to give a like and subscribe. Yes, please. And Mookie made it in. Hello, all. Hello, Mookie. Are you at work? You're always at work on Tuesday nights. You must have the most chill boss ever, right? If I had been caught watching YouTube, I probably would have been fired a long time ago. But that's cool. So how are things in the paper business? Uh, I've got some knives to cut paper. Actually, I just like them. I think I have a Smith & Wesson in my truck right now. That's a very inexpensive knife, and nobody, it's out in the open, so nobody would break a window to steal it, and that's kind of my thought process is if you leave stuff in your truck, don't leave expensive stuff where somebody's going to want to break in to get it. And so I really thought the SOG I could put, uh, not that there's anything wrong with the Smith & Wesson, but I just was going to trade them out. But that thing's so big, there's no way. I will end up hurting myself with it if I don't sell it. So I've been listing a bunch of backpacks on Facebook. And that was another thing that I just saw somebody come in, so I wanted to talk about that too. Mookie says, yes, at work, I am the boss, so I get away with it. Plus, I have my own office area. Cool. Awesome. And Brett made it in. Hey, hey. So both of my kids have flown on airplanes in the last month, and they both had kind of the same experience that they came back with. Because, I'm all about, well, how did this work? How did that work? Did you actually need this? Did you need this? Well, uh, my daughter flew first, and she had gone out and bought it's the cutest little thing. It's a little bitty, teeny tiny, hard-sided carry-on, okay? And she had no problem putting it in the overhead bin. Now, she tried to cram everything. I don't even have, yeah, I guess it's about this big. She tried to cram everything into a fanny pack about this size, and she filled it to the brim and quickly discovered that she did indeed need a backpack. So when she got to her destination, she bought a backpack. Well, uh, but she had the carry-on with, like a couple of changes of clothes in case her luggage got lost and that kind of thing. Neither child flew with a laptop, so I do have to make that caveat. My son took, if I can turn where you can kind of see it, that Horse Surf backpack. I fly with a 28 liter. I had a 38 liter that when I when I filled it, because the more room you have, the more stuff you're going to put in it, it was too heavy for me to carry. So it's just been sitting on my wall. Well, he took that and loved it. said it was absolutely the bomb diggity. They're very slender this way, so they fit under the seat, and then you can put your feet on the other side. So I love mine because it's got this big pocket on the front, and when you put it under the seat, you just have to bend over and you've got access to anything you need while on the plane. I gave him my flight kit that has everything you could possibly need in flight, and he didn't even take it out of the backpack, because he's like, it's a 2-hour flight. I'm not gonna. I don't even think it was 2 hours. Uh, so he didn't end up using that at all. But he took a duffel bag with his clothes, and he didn't do a checked bag. So he takes a duffel bag and getting it into the overhead, he said it would have been better had it been a hard-sided piece of luggage. So there you have it. I don't use a carry-on because I can stand under the overhead bins. I don't have to bend over to get to my seat. I can fit under the overhead bins. So for me to put something in the overhead bin means I have to somehow get it up over my head into this thing, and I don't think I stand a snowball's chance of getting the door back down. So that's just for me, it's just not practical. I check a bag and I take a backpack, and the backpack has my computer and all my electronics and my cameras and all that good stuff. So that's heavy enough, uh, and it goes under my seat. So I'm not in the aisle trying to make a fool of myself and look for some tall person to help me, right? But I just thought I'd pass that along, that if you are going to put something in the overhead compartment, the general consensus seems to be that it's better if it's hard-sided. So, and Roy made it in. G'day, Sly. Uh, for all you guys, since we are kind of we all kind of know each other, uh, say a little prayer for Jeff. He's kind of going through some stuff right now, and he just needs peace. Just pray for peace for Jeff. I was gonna do a little slideshow tonight, and he's kind of he's kind of stressing right now. So say a little peace for Jeff. Brett says, yeah, hard-sided for a carry-on was definitely the way to go. And there is another plus to that. If you're big enough to put it in the overhead, you can put your backpack on it while you're going through the airport. But I don't take a carry-on because of the complete embarrassment it would cause trying to get it in the overhead bin. So now if I was traveling with my son or somebody that, you know, could do that, I might change the way I fly, but for for me, it's just a checked bag that's big. It's big, and but I don't have to lift it. It's got the little rolly handle thing, and it's on wheels, and I don't have to lift it anywhere. And then once it's checked, I just wear the backpack through the airport. So, not a big thing for me. But it always seems like I get the furthest gate from where I check in. Like, my gate is always the last in the terminal, right? And one flight, I tried to take a carry-on that I carried in my hand. It didn't go over the anything. I had a backpack and a carry-on, and that was the most miserable trip that I've been on, because by the time I got to that gate, I was worn out from carrying that bag. So there's that. Roy says zippers are not secure on planes. No, they're not. I actually watched a video of a guy that took a pen, just a plain old fountain pen, and stuck it. If I can do it to this one, stuck it in the zipper. I can open the pen. Stuck it in the zipper. See if I can get this done. I have not tried this before. Anyway, he stuck it in the zipper, and the zipper just came right undone. And now, maybe I don't know if his bag had anything in it or not, but obviously it didn't work for me. But I'm sure it would for a thief, right? He was kind of giving tips about, what to do and what not to do, like don't show your address on your luggage tag, because then the thieves know you're not home. Good point. And apparently thieves will fly. They'll get the cheapest ticket possible so that they have access to the baggage area. They take all these bags, they sort through them, take what they want, and then they fly back. That seems like a lot of trouble. But yeah, uh, but Roy, you're right. Zippers are not secure. Did I put that up there or did I not? Have I been putting any of these up there? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Uh, I'm new at this. No, I'm just getting old and my brain is befuddled. But so yeah, I'm getting ready to fly next month, and then we're gonna take a driving trip, which driving trips are so easy, except it takes you a really long time to get there. But you don't have to go through airport security. You don't have to, go through all that airport stuff, airplane stuff. You can take whatever you want. As long as it fits in the back of my truck, it's going. And so we're going to take a trip after the first, and we're driving. So I don't mind the driving trips. I kind of enjoy them. And I'm going with my son who can drive my truck. So when I took a trip to Florida, the friend I went with could not drive my truck, and so I had to do all the driving, and that gets a little tiring. But I'm going with my son, and he can do half the driving, and so we can switch off, and it just makes for a more enjoyable trip. If you want to drive 4 hours, and then he drives 4 hours, or 2 hours and 2 hours, or whatever, and it just makes for a so much more enjoyable trip for me. I'd rather drive than fly. Brett says, plus you can take an ice chest on a road trip. Yes, you can. And I have these wonderful things called what are they called? They're backpacks, but they're coolers. So they're soft-sided and marvelous invention known to man. Because when you get to your hotel and the next morning you get ready to go and everything, you take the backpack cooler and you shove it under the ice machine thing, and it fills it up with ice. So you don't even have to buy ice when you're on the road if you stay at a hotel. Now, I guess if you camped, you would still have to buy ice, but if I was camping, I probably would take a hard side cooler. Roy says, today is the first day since I was 17 that I don't own a car. So you sold your car. Does that mean you have stopped driving? Or does that mean you're in the market for getting something new? Uh, several years ago, I sold a car before I had picked out a new car, and it took me 5 weeks to find a new car. So for 5 weeks, I was without a car and having to rent a car on the weekends, and it was just get rides back and forth to work. It was not a pleasant 5 weeks. But so do you not drive anymore, Roy? Or are you in between? I sold that one, now I got that money to go buy a new one type thing. Or I sold that one and now I've got money to buy a new camera type thing. Roy says, gave the car away, not driving anymore. Well, that's, every single one of us will get to that point eventually. Uh, yeah, where I live, nothing is within walking distance. So you have to drive everywhere. So it kind of makes, but there are things like Walmart, I think it's called Walmart Plus. I have the heavy stuff delivered, and then I just have to bring it inside. Um, and of course, Amazon, they make there's a trail, an Amazon trail from the curb to my door. So, uh, but yeah, I think I know when my dad quit driving, he caused an accident, and thankfully no one was killed. But he hurt some people, and he got hurt, and my mom got hurt, And so we didn't replace the car. He was in his 80s and enough was enough. So, and that was hard for him, but he liked to walk. And so he got later in his late 80s and early 90s, would get very disoriented and forget where he lived, and he would take off walking, and so we had to put his name and address on the walker so that somebody could help him home. Roy says, I just sold a lens, a 2000 millimeter f11 reflex Nikkor. Wow, that's a huge lens. I think, Roy, you could probably see to Oklahoma from Australia. 2000 millimeter. Wow, that's huge. Uh, and apparently you got a pretty penny for it, because that I would imagine. I don't know. I've never had a lens that big, Roy, but I would imagine that's a pretty expensive piece of gear. Speaking of gear, supposedly, or what do they say, allegedly, the new Osmo Action is coming out next Tuesday. Now, they've been saying this for a minute, okay? It was supposed to come out either October or November, like the date's already passed. And then it was supposed to come out a week later, and that's already passed. And so now they're saying Tuesday. It seems like a pretty hard and firm date. There's been quite a few leaks. But my question to you guys, with all the controversy about the DJI drones and the FCC not letting DJI sell in this country anymore, do you think it's wise for me to jump off and buy the Osmo 6? I was already had the money set aside, have had the money set aside since July to get this Osmo 6, because I'm not 100% happy with the 4 and the 5. So I've really been waiting with bated breath for the 6 to come out. It was supposed to have the bigger sensor, be better in low light, be better in depth of field, just everything. There are some concerns that I have seen other people raise about it is an action camera. So I'm not sure if having a variable lens is going to be a good thing. Uh, because it's got the little shutter things inside that open the aperture wider or smaller, and action cameras get bumped and dropped and everything else. So yeah, I think the more improvements they do on them, the more fragile they're going to become. Just my take on it. But they're not that expensive. Not in the world of cameras, they're not that expensive. So I just I don't know, they've come out with that extra model that's a duplicate to the 4 and 5, except for the Bluetooth. So I don't know if they're going to add Bluetooth to those cameras, or if I don't know if the injunction is going to cover action cameras or if it's just going to cover their drones. There's just so many unknowns that I hate to pull the trigger on November 18th and then January 1st, oh, we can't support that camera anymore. So I'm a little concerned. Randy, what do you think? Roy says it was a great moon lens, but a beast to mount. I would imagine. And it weighs 7.5 kilos. Roy, that's the weight limit for luggage on a lot of European airlines. 7.5 kilos? No, kilograms. 7.5. I don't know how much weight is 7.5 kilos. I think it's kilograms on luggage. So that's even more, right? I'm gonna have to look real quick. I know Randy would look it up for me, but 7.5 kilos to pounds. 16.5 pounds. It's like putting a sack of flour on the end of your camera. Yeah, that's huge. You would definitely have to have a tripod to set that on to get any kind of, because I mean, 16 pounds trying to hold that up. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Roy says IBIS is the most fragile part of most cameras. Well, so action cameras apparently have got that down pretty pat. The Rocksteady, Rocksteady Plus, GoPro has their own version of it. They do pretty good. I'm not going to say it's totally smooth because it's not, and you can definitely tell when I'm walking and stuff. But they've mastered that pretty well. I'm just worried about those little fins, like uh, my G7X Mark III had them. A lot of people have had problem with those. The Sony ZV-1 has them. I haven't had any trouble with mine, but I'm not real rough with my gear either. So, um, Randy's saying to Roy, congratulations on selling the lens. I used Uber and Lyft for riding vehicles when looking for a new car. Took me 6 months before I got a car. Wow. See, yeah. Yeah, I went 5 weeks and thought I was going to pull my hair out. Um, and back then, I don't think Uber and Lyft was an option. Uh, Down where I used to live, they had taxis, but I don't think Uber and Lyft was really a thing yet. This has been 9 years ago. So now they're probably all over down there, but at the time it was, hey, can I get a ride to work? Can you give me a ride home? And then on the weekend I would rent a car. Um, Randy says, I thought DJI made up with the US. No. But everything that I've been reading is it's talking about the drones, not the action cameras. So, yeah, I'm not looking to buy a drone. But if 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 the US says DJI can't sell here, is that going to encompass their action cameras as well? Roy's saying to Randy, I may not be able to drive again. Taxis for me now. Yeah, I mean, that's, if you really look at how, like, because I don't think you work out of the house now. So how much do you really go? And you kind of have to weigh the cost of insurance, at least here, insurance and maintenance and gas and everything else. And if you're just not driving very much, it kind of makes sense not to own a car. Uh, Randy says, Roy, there's only a few taxis left in this area where I live. Uber and Lyft stole their business. They were more cost effective. Yeah, the taxis in Muskogee, it was kind of expensive to go like 4 or 5 miles. So plus you're kind of at the mercy. You call a taxi and it takes them 2 hours to show up, and yeah, it just wasn't. It wasn't like living in New York where there's taxis, on every street corner. Roy said, I sold the wife's car, but she wasn't in it at the time. I'm sorry. Uh, Randy says DJI is banned in the U.S. due to a bill passed in 2024. Existing DJI products will continue to work, but new imports will be illegal. See? So that's kind of, now, that's talking about the drones, not the action cameras. Okay? I've not read anything about the action cameras being illegal, only the drones. But as a company, that's kind of, I think that's why they introduced the extra cameras into uh, the US, is they're marketing them under a different name, but it's the same camera. It just doesn't have the Bluetooth capability. So, yeah, I don't know whether to pull the trigger or not. Roy's saying to Randy, didn't DJI have enough bribe money? No, they didn't. And that was kind of the whole thing. Because they've denied everything. But And in the wording, it's they supposedly did this in their own country. So we're not going to let them sell here because they supposedly did this in their, we don't have any proof. We're just, but they didn't pay us enough money. So we're just going to say that. But I hate to buy something and then all of a sudden you can't get support for it, because DJI does a really good job of updating their firmware. When they updated the Action 5 Pro, it fixed a lot of the bugs. It does a pretty good job in low light. I mean, it's an action camera. It's not going to do like one of you guys' full frame cameras, okay? But for me and how I travel with them and use them and everything else, it makes sense for me. Um, I I I would probably be scared to death to take my M6 Mark II as many places as I take my little action camera. This little thing's right here's pretty much with me all the time. And I've got it set up to where the microphone, as soon as you take it out of its thing, it's on, and you hit this button and it goes to record as soon as it comes on, and it links the microphone. It's easy. It's very, very easy. And they may put Bluetooth in those extra cameras they came out with, but there's no word yet of the Osmo Action 6 version being put out in that extra camera. So they're like the older versions of the DJI, which is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the 5 Pro. It's a fantastic little camera. From what I have seen and heard, the 6 will not use the same cage. It's a completely different setup. So the camera, it's a different size. So you can't use the cage, but you could use everything else. And it is supposed to have Bluetooth, so the mics would hook up to it and everything. But they've also made the screen a little bit smaller, which I kind of didn't like to see that. Because, when you're old and blind, you need the biggest screen you can possibly get, and this is already small enough. So Randy says, I would wait until it's out first. I was kind of thinking, this is my thought process. As much as it pains me to wait, because I usually like to, when I'm ready to get something, I'm ready to get it. But I thought about waiting until after the first of the year just to see if they are banned. If the ban does include their action cameras. I've been on a lot of like subreddits that talk about people going overseas to get a drone and then bringing it back. But I'm not talking about a drone. I just want them to be able to sell their action cameras. Randy says the DJI Osmo Action 6 will be sold in the US. DJI has confirmed a launch event with a dedicated US landing page indicating US market availability, while previous drone models have faded or faced. Probably faded. Um, yeah, the launch date's supposed to be November 18th, which is fine. But if they can't sell their product after they lose their FCC licensing December 31st of this year, if they can't get it renewed, are they still going to be able to sell their cameras in 2026? So, and that too is a double-edged thing, because if they can't, have I blown it by waiting? It's da. Roy says, I don't want a camera smaller than my ZR. I think the ZR and the M6 Mark IIs are about the same size. I think. Which, you know, I think, Roy, your hands are a little bigger than mine. I know you have said in the past you don't like um, the micro SD cards, which they don't bother me at all. Um, I guess I'm just so used to it that, these regular size SD cards now seem huge to me because everything I do is on a little micro SD card. So, yeah, these seem really big now. It'd be great if they would put these in an action camera, but I don't see that happening probably in my lifetime. I don't know why they think the little micro SD card is the thing to put in it, but I've probably got I've probably got 20 or so of the SD cards and triple that amount of the micro SD cards. So that's pretty much all I use anymore. Randy says restrictions. Oh, he wasn't finished writing. Okay, so while previous drone models have faced restrictions, the Osmo Action 6 is positioned to be available through official channels like the DJI US website and Amazon. So, um, so you think I'm probably okay pulling the trigger on one, or would you wait? Roy says, I've decided micro SD cards no longer exist. Well, Roy, they do. They don't bother me. I mean, yeah, I still, as much as I use them, and you figure every time I do a video, when I'm out and about, I come home and I have to take it out, put it in the computer. Now, I could hook up a USB-C cable and it basically achieves the same thing, but I'm such a creature of habit. And I don't know. So you get the occasional, pew, where it flies off the thing, but um, see, my fingers are pretty small, so I don't have a problem getting those out. But if your hands are big, I could see why you would not want something this size. But yeah, this just seems huge to me now. But what's funny is the battery for this, I can get it out, um, is very, very similar in size to the battery for my M6 Mark IIs. Now, this does have the 5 Action 5 Pro does have the better battery life. Uh, but and it will go longer than the M6 because that it lasts about an hour in the big camera, and this goes, I think it goes 3 or 4 hours. So it does last quite a bit longer, but it doesn't really matter because I don't really film that much for that long. And so when I think it must be getting close to needing to change out, I just go ahead and change it out so so it doesn't shut down. So, but that's just me. But that's funny. Randy says, Best Buy has gotten more SD cards for the holiday season. Yeah, I usually buy them when they're on sale, and I'll buy like 6 at a time, and so I have them all over the place. When my daughter went on her trip, I gave them, I think, 3 so that they don't do a lot of videos, but they do tons and tons of pictures, and so I wanted to make sure they had plenty of SD cards with them. Randy says, "If it comes out on Monday, buy it. They should still have the capability of firmware updates." I think it's slated to come out on Tuesday, next Tuesday. So, I've been waiting since the summer for this new camera, guys. And so I'm kind of sitting here with bated breath waiting. And so it's going to be hard for me to sit on my hands until the first of the year. But I don't know. They're not that expensive, but you do have to buy all the peripherals. Like I'll have to get a new cage, and I think everything else should transition over pretty easy. But yeah, I don't know. That's the one thing I love being single because I don't have to ask anybody permission. But sometimes on decisions like this, most of the time I know what to do. But on this one, it's like, Oh. And then you have to think, okay, it's not that much money. If they don't do firmware support, have you really lost that much? I mean, because these cameras are going to work whether DJI supports them or not. They're still going to work. So, yeah, I don't know. But how long, without firmware updates? Now, my original Osmo actions still work fine, and they haven't had updates on those for years. So, I don't know. Randy says, then buy it on Tuesday. Well, that was kind of my thoughts. I don't know. We'll have to see. I may get kind of skittish and say, "Oh, I kind of want to." I don't know. I do want it because I have been waiting a long time. So yeah, maybe I should ask for that for Christmas. If my little elves are listening, which I think she went to bed. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's just I've had the money set back since I think July. So I have been waiting, I think, very patiently. I haven't given up on them yet, but then all this stuff about the FCC came up, and I'm like, ooh, am I gonna have to jump ship and go with a whole new? Because I mean, GoPro, I don't think has put out anything new lately. I don't think they put out a new camera this year. So yeah, I don't know, but we'll find out. And on that note, guys, I'm so glad you guys came in. I love talking to you guys, and I couldn't discuss this with anybody else that would have an opinion one way or the other. They wouldn't even know, most people wouldn't even know what I'm talking about. So I really appreciate you guys listening to me and helping me kind of talk through this stuff. But have you noticed there's quite a few new bags on the wall? Anybody notice? I know it's hard to see with the red light, but I was going for the whole red, white, and blue thing for Veterans Day. Okay, but yeah, we've got a lot of new, not new. There's a lot of new ones back there. Um, so we'll be kind of going over those. I've got one coming that I'm terribly excited about, and I'm hoping that I can get the co-owner of the company to come on with me one night and give, kind of talk about the bag. So that's going to be kind of that exciting for me. I don't know if it will be for you guys, but it'll be exciting for me. But anyway, guys, thank you again to all you veterans out there. I hugely, hugely appreciate it. And I will see everybody next Tuesday. Uh, Roy says bags for insulation. For insulation? No, just bags because I like bags. Some women collect purses. I collect backpacks. You get it. And Randy's telling everybody to have a great weekend. And I concur. And I will see everybody next Tuesday. Stay safe, everybody. Love you guys.